Hi, this is Derek. I want to make a quick video and talk about read-through rate. So read-through rate means when people read your book, how many of them continue to the next book. So it's more important with a series, but it's also something that's really important to consider, because even if you have standalone books, if they read through, it means they were satisfied enough with the first book to want to read more of your writing. So even if you have a bunch of standalone books, you want to make sure they're satisfied. Read-through rate is basically reader satisfaction rate. So you want to make sure that the majority of readers who are the right readers for your book like the book. That's kind of the main thing. And so this comes up because I'm in a mastermind, and just now one of my friends does really well with publishing, and he has a lot of books, and he hires out writers. So some of them are really good and they work really well to make a lot of money. Some of them not so much, but he doesn't really know why. And so for him, he's focused on funnels and advertising and box sets and all this other marketing stuff, but he hasn't been focused on the content. So what I told him basically was the most important thing, the biggest win, is to figure out the content, figure out which of the writers are good, are satisfying readers, and which of the writers are just kind of okay, mediocre. Because even if you can sell a book, if it has a great cover, if it has a great blurb, you can sell it to people, but the amount of people, like whether or not they finish the book, whether or not they enjoy the book, that's going to be the biggest long-term win. Those are going to be the people who become fans, who share the book, who review the book. The more you can satisfy them. So satisfying them is just a matter of structuring your book well, including hooks, organizing it the right way. There's a lot of other things, like writing quality matters to some extent, but it's not really the main thing that improves read-through rate. There should also be something like a hook or an unfinished ending, especially at the end of book one if you have a series. There's things to do, and I talk a lot about this stuff in my course, the Bestseller Boot Camp, which I put out last month. But this was all basically like, how do you actually write a book that readers enjoy? Because, you know, what's a good read-through rate? If someone signs up for a free book, if they download a free book, most of them aren't going to read it anyway. So the first challenge is just getting them to read the book. You can't assume that people who download a free book are actually going to read it. So you need to put things into the book and your email content and your platform. You have to try to make them start reading the book. There are ways to do that. You can make a contest or a giveaway or something that just encourages them to start reading, because that's kind of the biggest hurdle with a free book. But then assuming people start reading, you have to know, do they finish the book? Does it hold their attention the whole way through? Most people don't finish most books. You have to have a book that's good enough that satisfies readers, not only the beginning and the ending, but all the way through. A lot of people have kind of saggy, sloppy middles where they lose the plot, and then readers don't know what's going on and they quit. Or they're just like, this is pretty good, it's okay, but they're more attracted to reading something else that holds their attention more. So holding readers' attention, it's not just about selling the book, it's about holding their attention and satisfying their desire, basically, throughout the end of the book, but then stoking the desire again at the end of the book to make them want to read something else, which you can do with an opt-in offer or bonus content to get them to sign up for your list. Or like the first chapter of the next book is an easy thing to do at the end of your first book, with a link to buy the next one or to sign up for the next one. So for a free book, your read-through might only be like 5%. I would shoot for 5%, but that's assuming that everyone's reading the book, like 5% of the people who begin reading the book. And actually, you know, most people aren't even going to do that. But then once they've started reading the book, especially if they paid for the book, like if they paid 99 cents or $2.99, paid readers, they're harder to satisfy, but they're also more likely to start reading the book. So those are the people you really want to focus on. And what I told my friend was, you want to be at 50% or higher, because if your read-through rate is less than 50%, it means the majority of people who they were interested in your book, they thought they would like your book, they were attracted by the cover and the blurb, they're the right readers for your book, as long as you're positioning your book the right way. The majority of readers don't like the book. They don't like it enough to continue with the second book. And that's a problem. If the majority of the right readers don't like your book, you have a quality problem. That's a content problem. You need to fix your content problem before you worry about marketing or scaling up. The other question that my friend was wrestling with is like, you know, how does he know if a series is going to be profitable? How do you know if you want to invest a year of time in developing a full finished series if it's not really going to be that profitable? So you kind of want to map it out, map out the whole thing, pretend that it's going to at least have the potential to be a series. And by series, you know, generally trilogies are more traditional, but right now 5-book series, 7-book series, 9-book series, those tend to perform a lot better, because once you have a higher, basically it's a higher price value. You have a higher price per reader, like the amount of readers, if you can hook, 20% of your readers who begin book one to buy the entire series, you can spend more on advertising to get new readers into your funnel to start reading the book one. But anyway, so with a series, it's difficult to decide if you want to invest, all of your time in a whole series if you're not sure if it's going to perform well. But you can finish book one and focus on the hook and focus on the read-through. And you can even finish book one and put a really good call to action. Did you like this book? Would you like to get the next book for free? That's probably good enough. Maybe with a little bit of sales copy about book two, like what happens next, just to pique their curiosity. And create an open loop. By open loop, it's like you're hinting or referring to something but not satisfying it, so you're creating new desire by opening a question and not resolving it. There's an airplane going ahead. It's Chiang Mai. There's a lot of airplanes. So I'll just finish up really quickly. Read-through rate's really important. I would shoot for 5% for a free book, 50% for a paid book. Of course, you're not going to probably hit those, but those are good goals to have in mind, because that basically means most of the right readers are being satisfied enough by your book to want to keep reading. I think that's a benchmark you should shoot for. But read through is probably, like, if you are trying to focus on marketing or advertising or scaling, if you've got the sales, if you don't have the sales at all, it's your cover or it's your blurb. But if you have the sales and you're losing people on the read through, you're not creating fans, you're not creating, people aren't reviewing or people aren't buying book two, that's the problem you need to fix. That's probably a content problem, which means you probably have to go back through and fix all the hooks, fix all the beginning and endings of every chapter or every scene. Those are kind of the most important things. So those are things you have to kind of go back and revise. Even if you're finished with the book already, if your read through isn't strong enough, that's what you really need to focus on, is just improving your book by making sure people are continuing to finish the whole story. And that's a writing problem. So I have a lot of free resources, or my course, Bestseller Blueprint, which is pretty cheap. So those might help, because I have a lot of outlines on how to structure your book or how to create hooks. But anyway, that's really what you should focus on. And actually, that's like the majority of authors, they're struggling because they can't get anyone to read their book, because it's a cover problem or a blurb problem. And after that, it's a visibility problem. So those are like three huge things that most authors never solve. But once you've solved those problems, that's what guerrilla publishing is all about, is just solving those problems, getting the visibility and getting the conversions so people buy your book. But that's not enough, because you still need to focus on writing satisfying books that readers enjoy and they want more of your content. That's a way to build a long-term author platform and be able to really scale your author platform. So it's a really important metric that I don't think I've really talked about before. So I hope that video helps a little bit.